Democracy is stuck in queue, and it's all because PS5 owners won't log out of Helldivers 2 and let everyone else play. Meanwhile, the console market is dying, and Xbox has thrown in the towel, and they're just giving away games to Sony and Nintendo. Then we talk about games we're actually looking forward to with Last Epoch, Kingmakers, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Hi, I'm Nick, and in my 800 years on this planet, I've learned that the only thing that can't be solved by democracy, cooperation, and high-powered explosives is queue times.
Hi, I'm Josh, and if consoles are dying, who's killing them?
I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. His name is Kim. No, I can't. No, I'm sorry. No. Hey, everybody, guess what? It's time for more video games.
It's the thing about Kid Rock, because you talk about him once, and he's in your brain for like an hour.
Yeah, we bought what to bod. Yeah.
We invented drinks.
We did.
Symptoms.
Yep.
there was a whole Kid Rock lineup that we made up.
Join us pre-podcast, and you can too join in on the jumping up with the diggies or whatever.
Bumping up the boogies or whatever, dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if you talk about Kid Rock too long, you get herpes, though. So
yeah. You don't even need a mirror.
We're borderline herpes.
It's close.
Borderline.
We're nearly infested.
That's the name of his new album.
Well, it's going to be a relatively short podcast, I think, because we're doing mostly follow-up this week. Mm-hmm. Follow-up, why don't you just get started? Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick.
Hello.
What am I talking about? Helldivers.
Yeah, no.
Helldivers, diving into hell. I've been diving into the hell that is queue times. That is mostly what I'm going to talk about today. I have now, if I had to estimate, 20 to 30 hours in the game, with Steam listing my playtime is probably 40 hours. That is due to the fact that everybody and their brother and sister and mother and whoever has earned their citizenship wants to play Helldivers because it's a fantastic game. Problem is, Helldivers 1 capped out at a peak player count of around, I think it was 7,000 to 10,000 players, which is kind of mind-blowing considering how fun the game was, but it was niche, right? So reading into this, trying to figure out, okay, what is exactly going on with the servers? Why are they having such a hard time? I don't know server architecture. I'm not a programmer. I have the most basic layman knowledge of it, enough to kind of get an idea. And what I've understood is when they made Helldivers 2 and they created, their servers and set them up, they said, okay, let's at least make sure we have enough for 10 times the capacity that we expect, which was 10,000 players. And we will put in some lingering code in case it's even more than that, right? And thank democracy they did, because the current player numbers are too high to count. They haven't made a number big enough yet.
To be able to accommodate everybody.
Yeah, it's just, I was going to make something up.
Okay.
Way higher than 7. So the problem is, the code does not allow for as many players as there are. So they've been doing what they can to mitigate damage control, right? Looking into a bunch of posts and some posts on, especially like from Reddit, from the people who work at the company, it is seemingly normal to bring in a new person to work on your server architecture and help expand your stuff, for them to take it minimum about 3 to 6 months to get up to speed on how your stuff works. I was surprised to find out you would think server architecture for multiplayer games is pretty like universal across games. Apparently not the case. So the amount of work they've actually been able to do in the last week, given the multiplayer problems and allowing more people to play, is extremely impressive if you have any knowledge of how multiplayer servers work. They've done a lot of work. It still means that you're going to run into queue times. It still means that sometimes your game is just going to be utterly borked trying to load into it. I have encountered pretty much every bug the game has had so far. The first one was you just load up to a black screen. And there's a million fixes and you fall through until you realize the black screen is just because the game can't even connect to the thing that allows you to connect to the screen that tells you that you're waiting to connect. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, when you talk servers, it's not like you're talking about like you join one server, you play a game. Like, generally speaking, when you log into a game, something that's got like a multiplayer service, you're gonna log into an authentication server first, and then you're gonna launch, and then you're gonna go into like some kind of queue server, and then you're gonna go into the game world server.
Anti-cheat protection. Right?
Yeah,
everything's got to be plugged in. It's got to send all these ping pongs back and forth, make sure everything's legit and everybody's talking to one another. Everybody being all the software and firmware and all that shit. So the fact that I'm even able to get in the game, I mean, queue times anywhere from 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the evening on any given day. Sometimes 5 minutes. Usually it's been over an hour for me to get in a server. Another problem that they are going to address, as they've said in the next patch, is that they have no idle kick feature. So people are logging in like before they go to work or before they go to lunch, getting in, and then there's no kick feature, so they just get to be in when they get back, right? Or they never sign out, like in the case of the PS5, where the rest button, commonly used to quote-unquote turn your PS5 off, I believe from some of the posts I read, isn't actually disconnecting you from the server, so they can just wake back up the next day and they're still in the game. These are temporary hiccups. They suck, but they are temporary. They're going to get this fixed. It's clear that this is number one on the priority. So they can get all the people who've paid good money, $40 minimum, to play this game. But when you do play it, oh my gosh, it's like I'm playing Deep Rock Galactic for the first time. I had somebody blazing Fortunate Son over their mic the other day, and I was having such a blast. I didn't even meet him because it fit the game so well.
Yeah.
It has been a lot of fun. I've reached level 20 now, so I'm now able to unlock, if I have the meta currency, all the currently able products, massive bombs and railgun strikes and all that. I've been having a blast. And it's still new enough that, you can talk on mic and everyone's excited and, you're doing all your emotes. There's a lot of room for improvement as far as that stuff goes. I have other things that clearly need to take a back burner. There's a lot of bounce passes need to be made with some of the weapons. Some of them feel too good, and it seems hard to find a spot for them to fit in because there's such a catch-all thing like the auto cannon or the grenade launcher, which you get kind of middle of the pack that seem to be a one-size-fits-all solution to 90% of the game's threats. The laser-based weapons feel weak compared to all the ballistic ones, but I will happily let those linger for months if it means that they can get the servers fixed, everything be back up and running, and everyone can play. Other than that, when I do get in, I've had a blast. I unlocked the hug emote, and I've been telling everybody over mic, bring it in. We all give hugs at the end of every mission before we jump into the drop shed as everything's exploding around us. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So, at this current state, do I recommend the game? I recommend the game, absolutely. Would I recommend you buy it right now? No. I mean, you're running the risk of getting to play, after waiting hours to play, especially if you're someone who only really has like the evenings to play. If for some reason you can play really early or really late at night, you might not have a lot of these problems. But I've also had problems where like half the letters randomly on my UI disappear. So it's like a murder mystery puzzle on my screen trying to figure out how much ammo I have. I would probably give it, you could just keep an eye on it, see like when things start to get better, but realistically 2 weeks to a month, I would check back in and see how are things going. Because if you buy it now and you're waiting in queue, that's hurting me.
Right. So give it a month.
So give it a month.
Don't fuck up my queue.
Well, this guy and maybe this guy and some other friends of ours, I want to get them in next month. And fingers crossed they'll be able to not have to have the troubles I've had.
They did the work and even put in so that 10 times their highest player count could come in and play. And it's such a fun game that it's just not enough. So, I get the frustration, but guys, hang on. Like, hang on. Like, if you're in those queues, hang on. Most importantly, if you're on a PS5, log the fuck out so other people can play, you jerk.
Yeah. If you go to Steam charts and you're looking at Steam alone, this is one of the few games where the graph of concurrent players only goes up. Like, you don't really see, like, dips, But, yeah, we're looking at 500,000 players currently able to be playing, which is, like, that's server capacity. That's, I think, what they said in one of their Reddit posts, like 450,000 or something like that. So everybody who can play is playing. I can only imagine how many other people are playing through PlayStation or waiting in queue, right? And this just goes to show, turns out that intense co-op games, kind of fun. Who would have thought it? Payday, Deep Rock Galactic, right? These things, they kind of do well because it's a great fucking format. And maybe if those AAAs pick up on it, they might be able to make something else other than, I don't know, cough, cough, Suicide Squad. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that. It's fantastic when you get to play it. Wait a little bit. We'll check back in later.
It sucks to have a problem, but it's a good problem to have when so many people are playing your game that you can't keep up.
I'm DJ Democracy. Right.
Yeah, as far as having big problems, that's a good one to have at the end of the day. Well, Josh.
Yeah, let's move right into it. Guys, I mean, we've been playing video games a long time, and at various points in our video game careers, something has been dying. In the early 2000s, it was PC games, right? PC games are dying.
PC gaming has been dying since 1996.
Right? It's dying. There's, people are stealing the games. It's tired titles. It's dying. It's going out. PlayStation, that's where it's at, baby. And then, a little thing called Steam happened in the indie scene, and now PC gaming is stronger than ever. We have a little more to talk about that, of course, as well. So, it was, early 2000s, PlayStation, that's where it's at. Then a few years later, it was, handhelds, guys, they're in trouble. It's, that market's dead. It's not just dying, it's fucking gone. Look at the 3DS. Hung itself.
Everybody's got a phone. Why would you need a
you don't
DS?
need it.
Why would you need a Game Boy?
But then again, came a little, Steam, I guess, came along with a little thing, and now you would say the handheld market is anything but dead, considering you have the ROG Ally, you got the Steam Deck, you got the Lenovo Gangster Gladiator, whatever it's called.
It's the Legion Go.
It's the Legion Go.
I want a console called the Gangster Gladiator.
Yeah, the Gangster Gladiator Go.
So the handheld market is anything but dying now at this point. So what's dying? It's consoles. Now it has to be consoles.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in fairness, Sony is in this fiscal year, 2023, 2024 of our Lord, whatever it is now, they are moving 4 million less PS5s than they were anticipating. Even though it is fully in stocked and all that good stuff. So they're moving fewer units, and over the last 20 years, we have seen honestly a bit of a decline in console sales. This PS4 and the Xbox One, they combined kind of recaptured some earlier sales numbers.
Okay.
But it's been a pretty steady decline. But what's not included in that is Nintendo. Now, Nintendo often gets put into its own market because it's not quite a console, but it's not quite a handheld. And now they're not even on the same release schedule as Xbox and PlayStation.
They are the third kind of heat.
Yeah, the third kind of heat. So, would you say the DS is a PS4, Xbox One generation, or is it, PS5 Series X generation? Where do you call it? So they're even off sequence now. Even the FTC didn't include Nintendo when they were talking about Activision and the Activision Blizzard
the acquisition
of that. So Nintendo's always been kind of outside of that, and I think that has a lot to do with how they're innovating and where they target games. The key thing this article that is in our notes that you can go and talk about is that there's a funnel. Like the funnel of console gaming isn't happening. People are aging out and going to PC or going to their phones, or they're not, and new gamers aren't coming in because people are playing on their phones. That's the number one thing that we talked about. Like kids these days, they go up and just touch the screen. They don't even try for a controller or a keyboard. It's on the phone. It's on the tablet. So mobile gaming, That's where it's at. And again, we're gonna see from Xbox and Sony, that's definitely the direction they're going to be trying to lean in. So ultimately, that leads us to what are consoles offering this new generation, other than shorter load times and slightly tuned up graphics. What does the $500 purchase get you these days? I don't know. Over the last 20 years, we've seen less innovation in gaming consoles. I mean, recently they've had a boost in revenue from, DLCs and battle passes and raking us across the coals. So either if console gaming is going to stay the mainstay, they either A, need to make games cheaper, or B, find more customers. I mean, maybe they could do both. But I don't know. Well, we've, of course, heard this before, like I said, with PC gaming dying, handhelds dying, but we are in a weird place for the console, where that little box under your TV seems less and less important. Now, I have a console at home, but I literally only use it that's where all my Netflix and Hulu and stuff is most easily accessed. So that's what I use it for.
You could go buy a $50 Roku.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I would do. And that's exactly what I would do. It's not, I'm not going to go drop $400 on a new Xbox. So I don't know. Where is console gaming at? Where's it going?
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in.
Yeah, please.
So
chip in a little bit here.
Definitely the mobile market, phones in particular, has something to do with it. If you're a kid growing up now, the first big purchase you want is a phone. And if you have to choose at Christmas time between a phone and a console, the phone is going to validate you as a person in school, because you're not a person until you own a phone.
Yeah.
Right. And it's got to be an iPhone, and it's got to be the newest one, or it's got to be the newest Samsung, right? Like you're in bed with two fellows, and you choose your favorite of the two, right? But as far as like,
let's just move away from that.
Well, sure.
About children.
But fair enough. But at the end of the day, you want the latest and greatest, because that's the only way you get validated as a real person in school. Okay. So are mom and dad going to buy you $1,000 phone this Christmas and the PlayStation 5 that you want? Probably not. The shit of it is like that phone is probably what you're going to be asking for every Christmas or every birthday from here on out until you can afford to buy your own.
Yeah.
Because you want to continue to stay relevant, and that is more important today in like kid culture than ever. You aren't you're looked down upon if you do not have a phone by the time you're in middle school. Even if it is even just any phone, right? We're not even talking like necessarily the top of the line, but of course you want the top of the line because that's what all the coolest kids have. So are mom and dad going to be forking out the $1,000 phone plus the $500 console plus the $70 games now that come out every month? No, probably not, right? Your big purchase of the year is probably going to be your phone. So there's probably going to be just less consoles purchases fewer console purchases for the younger generations than were ours, because when we were younger, that was the big purchase.
Yeah, right. Agreed.
Right. And it wasn't expected that you had one in your room, right? You still had it connected to the family TV. There was one TV in the house typically when we were growing up, when we were young.
Yeah. When I was a little bit older, like 9, 10, I had it was like the crappy TV that was no longer in the living room or whatever.
You would eventually get a hand-me-down.
Yeah,
sure,
exactly.
Because dad didn't want you interrupting his baseball all the time. Definitely. But aside from that, there's also the fact that, honestly, what games are coming out on consoles that are absolute console pushers? When's the last game that you're like, I am going PlayStation this time because this game's going to be on the PlayStation? Or when's the last time that you're like, well, I have to buy a console because that's the only way I'm going to play X game, right?
God of War Ragnarok almost made me do it. It was close.
Sure.
It was close.
The last time I bought a console because there was a killer game that I had to have was the Xbox 360 for Halo 3.
I was just saying, that's the thing though. revenue is up, but quality in these games are down. We had a cough, hint at Suicide Squad there, but like without the God of War, without the big Halo release, like that's all. Halo's also on PC. So I mean,
consoles have always been floated by AAA titles.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the indie scene is on PC, and there was and has been indie scenes on consoles. I mean, one of the reasons that the Xbox 360 did so well is because of the indie market, right?
Yep.
They had the Xbox Live Arcade.
Yep.
That was a great place to put indie games back in the day. But the focus on indie titles has gone away, and they're still just being hoisted by AAA. And the quality of AAA games seems to have gone down pretty significantly in past years. It seems like most people are generally dissatisfied with a lot of the AAA games coming out because a lot of them are just iterative, right?
Right.
Yeah, you get number 3 of the game that you've been playing for the last 6 years. Great.
My 2 cents, real quick.
Yep.
So I was thinking about this last week, actually, playing Helldivers and why I liked it so much. And then came across an article just today researching for the podcast by talking about Aaron Flynn. Used to work at BioWare. He's a general manager there. He worked on all the big BioWare games from Baldur's Gate to Mass Effect. And he's currently making a game called Nightingale, which I've heard a little bit about. It's very early access. It's an early access experience, but he's got a small team working on it. Hope that game goes well. But he talks about games being evergreen. And he really kind of took the words out of my mouth that I was trying to search for. We have had 10 to 15 years of AAA game publishers, each trying to make what we're calling an evergreen game. And what I define that as is a game as a service that has the staying power and profit allowed for it to continue to iterate and polish to the point where you have a game to fall back on in any case.
Yes.
I'm talking Minecraft, I'm talking Roblox, I'm talking Fortnite,
Yes.
GTA, Call of Duty, Apex Legends, right? There are these evergreen games that if something comes out and you don't like it, you can always fall back to. Half of them are free. And because they have the money and staying power, they can put any future effort into just polishing the experience they already have, to making the experience more attractive. And looking at, you said 20 years of games with a console declining, there's a lot of factors to think about what's happened in the last 20 years that would mean console thing or decline. Mobile games are a big deal. You know, again, the fact that like the government never stepped in and said, hey, all these essentially gambling games for mobile phones, that's not allowed, means that we have a whole generation of kids being raised on games that are just designed to be pushing ads, right? And more insidious and less obtrusive. You have things like Roblox, which are just using child labor to make their own money. So you get children raised in these environments, and a phone is so much cheaper in the long term and quote unquote more useful than a console. And you have evergreen games on top of that. When in doubt, play Roblox, play Fortnite, play Apex.
Yeah.
Why even try breaking into the spotlight market, right? The market that the AA and AAA devs are pushing.
Yeah.
When you have all this competition, and it's not even, you have the same competition you used to have, but now you also have games as a service.
Yep.
So this idea of modern AAA games sucking recently, I feel what that suck is, if we were to define it, is every single game they push now, from Suicide Squad to Borderlands to whatever, is trying to be a game as a service, defined as a live service game that is constantly being updated with content, that you pay for a tri-monthly battle pass or, you know, a monthly DLC or whatever, because they want to keep you in their walled garden. There are too many now. And when you try to make a new one, you are competing with the Fortnites and Roblox and Minecrafts that have been doing the same thing as you're attempting to do, but they have 1, 5, 10, 20 years on you.
Yep.
That's why modern AAA games suck, is because very rarely are they attempting to make a game that isn't a game as a service game. They want that constant trickle of DLC and microtransaction revenue. And why bother sinking all of your time into a new game and going through all the daily logins and all the battle passes when you could just go back and play the Apex or Fortnite that you already have so much progress on?
And that you're still having fun with at the end of the day.
So at the end of the day, modern AAA devs have shot themselves in the foot. If you are not one of the big 5, big 10 AAA evergreen games as a service games, stop trying to break into that market. Like either you have the money just to throw at a wall and hope you can make some copy of a copy that sticks and you make a little bit of money, but more than likely it's not going to work. And I think that's why indie games have been doing so well, because they're not doing games as a service.
Yeah.
Right. They might have a battle pass like Deep Rock Galactic or Helldivers, but Deep Rock Galactic's battle pass is 100% free. It's just extra content. Helldivers, you can pay $21, I think, for like 3,000 meta currency credits, or it might have been 2,000. I've earned half that in a week of play for free.
But the initial purchase of the game is $40, right?
The game is $40.
So it's $61 with that. You're still less than a AAA title for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, or you can play the $40 and then play for 2 weeks, and you've earned all that meta currency for free just by playing the game. It's literally in the match. You find a thing, you pick it up, you earned 100 meta currency, right? That's like equivalent of $1 of stuff just for free in the game, right?
That's how it should be. It's like that's keeping your eyeballs on the screen and your butt in the seat, and you're earning the meta currency. You're playing the game, and that's how it should be. You like if you have the extra prizes and it's good. Like even with the loot box system, I fucking played the shit out of Overwatch. It's during holiday specials and all that shit because I wanted them new skins, and they said if I played enough, I would get the skin. I wouldn't have to pay any money. I get the skin. And sometimes I did. Sometimes I get a couple of them, or I get last year's that I was super excited about, right? That should be how, like, if your game's good and interesting, it's going to get the hours. I hate to beat on the dead horse again, but Baldur's Gate 3, I have 190 hours in it.
And 200 hours in that game.
Haven't beat the game yet. Made it to Act 3 almost twice now. Still haven't beat it yet, and I have almost 200 hours in this game.
We're going to do it this time.
We're going to do it this time. And if somehow my game got deleted and it was gone and I had to buy Baldur's Gate 3 again, I'd do it again. I'd pay another $60 to play this game because it's a fucking piece of art. And when you make art, I'll play it. Like that's what you should be. That's what games should be. You don't want your consoles to die. That's where it is, baby. Give me them Gods of War. Give me a good Halo, Something I would stand in fucking line to play. I stood in line to fucking play Halo, man. Come on.
Last game I stood in line for was Gears of War 3.
Yeah. All right. I need to pee, and we need to move on.
Yes, sir.
What are we doing?
Moving on, kind of. Just wanted to do a rehash on. If you want to go pee, go ahead, man.
Okay.
Yeah, just it'll be. Well, I'll give you a few minutes.
Oh no, I'm peeing.
Oh, okay, perfect. We talked last week about some Xbox exclusive titles moving over to other potentially consoles, namely the PS5 and maybe even the Switch. There was like a mass ruckus the last couple weeks.
Oh yeah,
of people that were upset or pleasantly surprised that
like cats fighting in a bag.
Xbox apparently had plans to put some exclusives on other platforms. That is sort of kind of true a little bit. They do plan on putting some games on other platforms. To start, there's going to be Pentiment from Obsidian Entertainment. They're going to be taking that and putting that both on the PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch on February 22nd. There's also Grounded, also from Obsidian Entertainment, the co-op survival game that we played not long ago. I guess you didn't jump in with us.
I didn't jump in on
but
that
Nick and I and his brother played for a little while. Great game. Crossplay will be supported across Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch and PC.
That's dope.
Yeah, and that is supposed to be launching April 16th. Now, a weirdly critically acclaimed game, Hi-Fi Rush, which was a smaller studio, bringing in a rhythm action-based game, pretty cool. Also, it's called Tango Gameworks. Hello, how do we not talk about that?
Right.
But produced by Bethesda. That's going to be coming to PS5 only. No plans on the Switch yet. And I believe that's going to be on March 19th. And then The Xbox exclusive, The Killer, right? Sea of Thieves will be coming to PS5 as well. That is going to be coming out on, let me think here. You can wish list on the 22nd. Purchase it. It'll be available on April 30th. So, four games. Pentiment and Grounded, PS5 and Nintendo Switch. Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves is going to be on the PS5. Some of these games are already on PC. And have been for quite some time via PC Game Pass or otherwise. But yeah, what everybody thought was either going to be like a world-ending apocalyptic event of Xbox exclusives coming to the PlayStation ends up just being that, yeah, sure, a few of them are.
I didn't hear a single Bethesda title.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you listed off there.
Technically, Hi-Fi Rush is the producer for it, but yeah, or, you know.
That was the key one. It's like, we're gonna get to play Starfield.
People
it's
are
like,
gonna be able to play Starfield on PS5. That's not fair.
Let them play Starfield. They deserve to be disappointed too. Fuck. No, it's whatever.
Yeah. No. At the end of the day, it ends up being kind of whatever burger.
Yeah.
A couple of these are also multiplayer, and they're going to be cross-play across all platforms.
Cool.
Great.
More people getting to play games together. I would so love, like, that was the one thing I wanted when, like, I was gaming a lot on the 360 and the One and stuff, was being able to play with Rocket League with my homeboy who had a PlayStation. It would have been so fucking cool. But, so it is awesome to hear that Grounded is getting cross-play against 100 systems. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
And if you haven't played it, play it with a friend. It's a great co-op game.
Yeah. And Sea of Thieves, I got a few hours out of that. That's great. It's on Game Pass, and now you're going to be able to play it with people on PS5. Cool.
So moving on and talking about the opposite of AAA games, good games. I have kind of been keeping an eye in my panopticon brain on Last Epoch, which is yet another Diablo clone. This one I feel is worthy of attention for a few reasons. So looked into it a bit more today. What is this game doing that Diablo or Path of Exile or Grim Dawn or whatever Wolcen isn't doing? Well, I can tell you what I know so far. So Judd Cobbler is the CEO of 11th Hour Games. He used to be working at some larger companies. He left a handful of years ago, started a Kickstarter about 3 years ago, made $250,000, just enough to get a team together to start working on this game. And the game has been in various versions of beta, public, private access, from what I gather, over those times. It has just launched into early access, out of early access. I'm not really sure, February 21st. And it's getting pretty darn good reviews. So I looked into it. He's the CEO himself has done a few AMAs on Reddit. Looking at his account, MoxJet200, he's actively posting on their forum, responding to people asking about builds or questions, and reading through his AMA and some of his stuff. It's clear this guy is a guy who plays video games. He plays games like Diablo at the very least, and wants to make his version of this that he likes. And reading some of the Steam reviews, the game has the normal bumpy problems that early access games do. But besides that, this seems to fill a niche that I think everyone wants. So on one end, we have Diablo, the originator and current shit fest that Diablo is.
The garbage progenitor.
On the other end, we have Path of Exile. Now, I have tried to play Path of Exile 3 times. Every time I play it, it gets worse. Because
my roommate loves that game.
Yes. Path of Exile is a game that if you started playing it 3 years ago, and you're the type of person it hooks you. The problem is the game is utterly shit to a new player. It feels bad. The opening is bad. Everything about learning to play the game is bad. And then once you get past all that, you realize the game is so fucking complicated that you need as many side windows open as you would need to play EVE Online just to figure out a build that kind of works in in-game, because there's like no free in-game respecs, right? The developer's pretty much been quoted as saying, yeah, I'm making the game I want. I really don't give a shit about player quality of life. Suck it up, deal with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, this is a game I'm making.
Like, there are games like this. You play games like I mentioned, EVE Online or World of Warcraft or things. There's things that you get so used to that as an experienced player, you're not aware of the problems in new player experiences. I just recently tried playing Path of Exiles again, like last month, and it was awful. Like I just got done playing Grim Dawn, which is a Diablo-like set in like a Weird West setting. And that game, which has co-op, but has like 9 people playing it, is so much better at initial and mid-game experience than Path of Exile is. It's actually playable. You don't have to sit there and crunch numbers using 7 third-party programs to figure out how to make a character. It's actually fun to play. This game is feeling like that. So one of the reviews I was looking at, a big long one, you can see it on the front of the Steam page reviews, is saying there are some connection issues with the server. There are some bugs, quirky things, all the things you normally get in kind of like a fresh out of early access game. That said, the quality of life for this game is through the roof. This guy says the girl, let me quote him here. This is Messajah, Messajah on the Steam forums. I appreciate his lengthy review. Everything about this game's design respects you, the player. It's not a soulless corporate money sucker like most other ARPGs. The dev has, as recently as yesterday, mentioned and reiterated, any in-game purchases will never sell power. Cosmetic only. So far, they have some skins and pets that you can get. Refuses to allow that kind of stuff in this game. The user interface and user experience is top-notch compared to other games. You get 100 slots in your stash, like 100 pages of storage for stuff for free. All of your crafting materials can just be immediately sent to like a crafting bench so they don't clog up your inventory. There's infinite options for sorting your items through single button clicks, an actually intuitive and fun crafting system. And it really seems to fall from the views I've read. I'm trying to give it a balance thing, somewhere in between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile. It is not going to give you that like autism level experience that Path of Exile with the highest levels of play. But it is not as dumbed down as Diablo 4. So I have yet to play this. Hopefully once I've burned out on Helldivers, I will have the money to be able to pick this up. It's $35. That's a really nice middle price for a game that isn't asking for the $60 of a AAA, and it knows that it's worth more than the $10, $20 a lot of indie games are. It's on the high side for an indie game, right? But again, still cheaper than a AAA game. And I'm going to keep a close eye on it and see how it progresses, because I love Diablo X. I love action RPGs. It's just rare that they make any good ones. So if and when I do play it, I will be probably balancing this against Grim Dawn, which just recently had a major free update. They completely overhauled the entire loot table system for the entire game. Mind you, in Grim Dawn, every single different monster has its own loot table. Stuff like that. And you get in these indie games, the developers actually just keep working on the one game they made and they keep making it better for free. So fingers crossed this comes out well. You can check it out again. Last Epoch, Epoch.
A review said he felt respected.
Yeah, he felt respected as a
purchaser of the game and a player of the game. I can't tell you the last time I felt respected by a game. That like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck. Yeah. I also want to talk about a game. Now, this game,
a respectful game.
It is a respectful game. This game, it's not out yet. There's no release date, but it looks like fun. It's called Kingmakers. Have you ever wanted to be the last hope for a dying world, and for some reason to prevent the apocalypse, you need to go 500 years back in time to England with a modern arsenal and figure out how many knights you can kill with an AK-47? If you've ever wondered,
that's me.
Like me, if you've ever wondered that, well, Kingmakers is going to let you figure out how many knights you can kill with a Ford F-150 or an AK-47 or an Apache attack helicopter or a Mossberg shotgun or a grenade. Like, it just so for some reason you're going back in time. Now the best thing is you and 2 friends can go back in time and build armies and save England and prevent the apocalypse.
It looks like Left 4 Dead, but in the Battle of Agincourt.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Except you have modern weapons and they don't. Right? There's a surprising amount of enemies on the screen. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of knights and soldiers that you're fighting off.
No, what I'm really excited about this is that there's a fairly seamless switch to like going from ordering and moving your troops around in like an RTS style combat, top-down attack combat, and then dropping into a third-person view and getting, fucking getting in it, getting in the mix.
In it. We're Bob to buying.
Yeah,
It's quite rowdy, accurate.
That was the adjective I was looking for. Rowdy, getting rowdy down in third person. It just looks. It's the first game this year where I saw it and was like, what the fuck am I looking at here? And I was so excited to try. I'm going to be tracking this one. It's on my wish list.
Mm-hmm.
All of us, after a few, whatever you're imbibing, after a few of them, have had the conversation with your friends of like, how effective would an M16 be in medieval combat?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be seen as a god? How much ammo do you need, etc.? This game looks to answer that, so I think that's fucking cool.
Someone it's essentially an isekai, right? Like you get sent back in time, but you have a full modern arsenal. You said vaguely 500 years ago in England, right? It's right in that same vein as Palworld, where like we're seemingly entering the era of throw off the shackles,
genre mashing,
defy standards, where it's like you have to genre mash carefully. No, just give the Pokemon a chain gun, give the knight PGL grenade launcher, right, and see what happens. Because why not?
It's video games. You can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. This comes from Redemption Road Games.
Do they have any previous works under their belt that we might be aware of?
So they do have Road Redemption. So, I mean,
Road to Redemption or Road
Redemption.
Road Redemption.
Just Road Redemption. And it kind of looks like a cross between like a motocross and a fighting game. Like you're kicking people on bikes, stuff like that.
Twisted Metal, but on motorcycles.
Exactly. It has very positive reviews on Steam. So
it's a good sign.
Yeah,
very positive reviews overall. And that looks like their biggest game.
Okay. And you said there was no current release date, huh?
Nope, no current, just 2024. So this year.
Cool.
So this year, but
we only got 10 months of this year left.
Yeah, not exactly. It's cruising along. So
We're right on.
I'm excited.
Yeah, dude. Well, I got one more thing that I want to follow up on. That's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Again, the game with the worst name ever. But I got to play demo 2 today. My only complaint with this one really over the last demo is that it's really short. If you blaze through, there's essentially you go from point A to point B, you fight a guy, and then the demo's over. There is a lot to do outside of that because it is an open world demo. So you can do a lot. Some notable things. I got to bring up my little cheat sheet here real quick. Of course she does. Because I wrote down some notes. In the demo, chocobos can get gear. Yes, you can gear your chocobo. You guys remember Final Fantasy IX, where you had the entire chocobo minigame, where you would scour the world looking for treasure with chocobos because they have an innate sense for treasure that's under the ground? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get to do that, but in an open world game. So that seems pretty neat. It looks like the currency is going to be golden plumes for those. The only way that I found to get golden plumes for the gear for chocobos was by fixing chocobo fast travel points. Like for some reason, they're all in terrible disrepair and you repair them. But for each of those that I fixed, I got a golden plume. And for each golden plume that I got a piece of scorpion armor for my chocobo. So that was cool. Next up, essentially, the open world is interesting. You only get a small slice of it.
Yeah,
you are
sorry.
I'm saying Red 13 right
Yeah,
in your
I-
chocobo.
and I-
That is
I-
the stupidest fucking thing.
I know,
I'm
dude.
sorry. I had to. By a half a second, you beat me. I was like, wait, is that fucking cat on a chocobo?
Yes, it is.
It's a panther on a chocobo.
Yeah.
Continue.
So the creators have addressed that and said that it is ridiculous, but they love it, so they left it. Because
Fair
originally
enough.
he was just going to run by you, at your
Like a
side.
regular thing.
Yeah, but they loved the model creation so much and how goofy it was that they left it in the game. So a couple other interesting things is there is regular combat, just like you've experienced in Final Fantasy VII Remake and the first demo. But in this one, they show off their My system, the mobile AI that accompanies you. The mobile AI in more rare combat encounters will give you a brief history of the monster that you're about to get into an encounter with, and then give you goals. Those goals are to stagger or basically accomplish things in combat that are in the normal combat system. Generally, you can get up to 3 goals, and you can if you end up making those goals, you then get a combat simulator portion from your boy Chadley. Yes, Chadley is one of your friends in the game. And in the combat simulator hosted by Chadley, you can do that fight over again, accomplishing those goals, which will allow you to craft materia, which is one of the ways that you acquire materia in the game, apparently.
Okay.
What I'm getting at here is it looks like there is going to be systems on systems on systems on systems. Because as far as I can tell, there is materia crafting via combat and the combat simulator. Materia acquisition. It looks like the way you're going to be getting some of your summons is by crafting them through the combat simulator and experience on the overworld map in special combat. There are like herbs and collectibles and tchotchkes abound that you collect on this map as well. Used for a crafting system that I don't even know if you have access to in the demo yet, because there's a lot going on and I haven't talked to every single person in the demo yet.
I've got 3 questions for you.
Yes.
One, when
Please.
does the game come out?
The game comes out next week on the 29th.
Okay. 2, what does this second demo show and allow you to experience that the first demo didn't?
The systems. So the first demo was very much a story demo and a cinematic experience. This one is mostly dealing with systems and your first foray into the open world portion of the game.
And 3, do you feel, given the release date of the full game, this demo is worth playing up until that point?
Because there is a lot of content to be had here. Sure, if you want to experience some of the things that is going to be provided in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth before launch, sure, give it a shot. Because to be honest, if you've played Final Fantasy VII, there's not going to be any spoilers here other than it's introducing you to some of the game systems that are incoming.
Okay.
There's no story spoilers if you've ever played Final Fantasy VII before. This is all in mainline Final Fantasy VII lore.
And if you haven't?
And if you haven't, if you're just looking forward to playing it and you can't help yourself, jump into it. Why not? It's really spoiler light in that you don't meet any critical characters. You do experience new combat. The combat has been tightened up quite a bit. And the combat is even different than what we saw in the first demo, in that this really fleshes out what you should expect in, Rebirth over Remake. They did tighten up combat quite significantly. I was actually really surprised.
Is that a hand crossbow with a TV on it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not actually a crossbow. I don't know why they made it look like that, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
So that's your we're watching this on screen, obviously. That's your mobile AI.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what gives you specific objectives during special combats. And also gives you an overview of the monster that you're about to fight. Like in this fight in particular, we're fighting chimeras. It gives you the history of chimeras that they only started to appear once Shinra started mining Mako from the earth, right?
I'm kind of getting the feeling that this My system is one of the many systems that Final Fantasy have always had of essentially iterative content that allows you to have mastery over the numbers of the game, right?
Yes.
So it's like, as opposed to just grinding for levels like you used to do in the old Final Fantasy, if you so wish to level up materia and perfect things and hone things to make future fights easier, this My system allows you to go back through and refight monsters in an attempt to do certain specific things in that combat to achieve achievements, which allows you to upgrade materia. Am I gathering that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay.
Upon finishing combat with a My-enabled combat or a My-enabled enemy, you are awarded regional specific data entry points that will then allow you to craft materia that becomes available after completing the combat simulation and completing all objectives within the combat simulation against the same opponents that you fought under the My combat. So I know that sounds really convoluted.
It's a fantasy game.
Yeah,
They're always
yes,
convoluted.
exactly. So, but yeah, this is one way that you can further progress materia. Like if you don't have a level 3 arrow materia, for example. Completing the Chimera challenge while getting all the objectives, which is exploit an enemy's weakness, stagger an enemy, and defeat all enemies within the time limit. You then get the best stage in the combat simulator against the Chimera. If you complete objectives within the combat simulator, you get level 3 arrow.
Gotcha.
So but you don't get that. You can spend your points to craft it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's systems on systems. There are systems that also intertwine with other systems, it seems, because it looks like there is a crafting system that will also take place inside the My system as well. So a lot of
JRPGs defined systems within systems. They defined like Byzantine levels of effort you have to go through to do all the little higgledy-piggledy things.
Yeah.
And Final Fantasy is like the father of those, right?
Yeah.
I expect every Final Fantasy game to have some system within a system, within a sports game, within a system.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that
Well, and we were talking about the golden plumes that you earn from fixing the fast travel points for chocobos.
Yeah.
I imagine you'll probably be able to earn those during chocobo racing as well. There's probably going to be multiple ways to earn the systems and currencies that you need to work within those systems, etc. I can only assume, because chocobos again are like a multi-platform thing in the Final Fantasy VII universe in particular, where that was a mini game that turned into a smaller mini game that ultimately contributed to the game overall. Yeah. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of that, and it seems like they're even taking a microscope to what existed already in Final Fantasy VII and said, how many more games can we make out of this? Yeah, if you're interested in lots and lots of systems, I think you could probably put like hundreds, if not thousands of hours into this game before experiencing all of the content that it has to give to you. That said, this demo also makes me think that you could really probably just blaze through the content if you wanted, so you could experience the story and experience the required combats and just get through the mainline game without having to faff about with all of it. Throw it on easy mode where you're really there just to experience the new story that Rebirth is going to be bringing to us, and ignore all the systems and just you could probably blaze through it no problem. Because again, like I said, if you jump into the demo and you go to the place marked on your map, you could probably finish this demo in about 15 minutes. If you were to spend the amount of time to experience like everything this demo has to give for you, I have already put about an hour and a half into it, and there's still plenty more to chew on in this demo. So, I think this is going to cater to both playstyles, the completionist and then the non-completionist. I think at the end of the day, it will cater to.
Good choice on their end.
Yeah, no, I think that is a good choice because, to be honest, with Final Fantasy 15, the amount of systems that were in that I did not care about, that I was forced to jump into, really turned me off to the game. I was really worried that an open world Final Fantasy game with such a huge map was just like going to be another Final Fantasy 15. It doesn't seem to be that case. I will probably land somewhere in the middle of the completionist versus the guy that zooms through for the story. I will probably land somewhere in the middle there. I don't think I'm going to be spending thousands of hours playing this game, but I could see myself throwing, easily 100 hours into this game based on what little I've seen so far.
Cool beans. Well, thank you for the info.
Yeah, so that is I believe that is the last demo until release comes out, but release is next week. So in 8 days, the same day Dune Part 2 comes out, we'll be getting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I look forward to playing it a lot, and I'll keep you guys, I may not talk about it too much next week. Probably won't have played any of it by the time we do the podcast. Actually, it won't even be out by the podcast day. So, but in the weeks coming, I'm sure I'll have plenty to talk about it, because this is something that I'm going to be launching headfirst into. It's probably going to occupy a significant amount of my time in the next few weeks.
All right.
So, all right. Well, I think that's it, guys. We touched on everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. Make sure you check out videogametango.com. It's got everything we talked about. I'll make sure we've got release dates. We've got publishers. We've got developers. All the info that you need about all the stuff that we talked about here today will be available on the blog of videogametango.com. So go ahead, check that out. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.